I've done this before, and quieting this crowd is notoriously difficult. But it's a great crowd, a great evening, and I hope, can people hear me in the back? The acoustics are tough in this building museum. But I'm John Slidell with the Bizzuto Group, and I'm the chairman of the ULI Washington District Council, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here tonight for the Lifetime Achievement Award dinner. ULI is an international organization with over 28,000 members, and the Washington District Council with 1,800 members is its largest and most active, or one of its largest and most active chapters. We're here tonight, as you all know, in this gorgeous building to honor the legacy of Albert Sonny Abramson, and founder of the Tower Companies. And the award that is going to be presented to him tonight really epitomizes the ULI mission. There are two parts to it: providing leadership in the responsible use of the land. It's printed on one of these programs that you probably have somewhere. And also in creating and sustaining thriving communities worldwide. And if you knew Sonny Abramson, and even if you didn't, you will know him before the end of this evening very well. You will see how much he exemplified these ideals and these criteria. So we're very, very pleased that the Abramson family was willing to have Sonny honored in this manner. A number of the family are here, and 3 of his sons who will be accepting the award. And we're also particularly delighted that Ted Lerner, a lifetime friend and business partner of Sonny Abramson, will be presenting the award later in the evening. Ted, I guess one of the things we talked about, and it had occurred to us about 2 months ago, was that November 1st was the date established by Major League Baseball for the 7th game of the World Series. So we were hoping the Nationals would make it, and we were planning on contingency plans which weren't probably final. But I can promise you we were going to be at Nationals Park in any event to do both of those things. So thank you. At this point, I'm going to ask David Forrester to step forward and take over the evening ceremonies. David is the president and CEO of Forrester Construction Company, and he has been the chair of the awards committee now for 2 years. David, I want to personally thank you for your efforts putting this together and your committee, and also the great ULI staff. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. As John mentioned, this is the 2nd year that I'm up here, but the Lifetime Achievement Award has been in existence since 2002, and it was established and is recognized and it celebrates excellence in land use. Over the last 10 years, a veritable who's who of our region's most outstanding real estate luminaries have received and been honored by this award. The full list of prior honorees may be found on the inside front cover of your program this evening. This year, the Lifetime Achievement Award Committee solicited nominations directly from our 1,800 members in the Washington area. And tonight, we are delighted to honor a true leader in real estate and philanthropy, Albert Sonny Abramson. First, I would like to thank the members of the Lifetime Achievement Award Committee who worked to make this evening a success. Rita Bamberger, Holiday Corporation, Brian Berry, Tishman Speyer, Elizabeth Conahan, Walker and Dunlop, Brian Cullen, Willisford, Moise Doriwala, Sterling Real Estate Advisors, Matt Klein with Ackridge, Charlie Nilsson, Washington Property Company, Bob Pinkard, the Pinkard Group, Barry Rosenthal, Bingham McCutcheon, Jane Schister, Cassidy Turley, John Slidell, the Bazzuto Group, Harriet Tregoning with the DC Office of Planning, and David Winstead with Ballard Spar. Let's thank them. Thank you. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the ULI team. And it's a fantastic team. It's led by Lisa Rother. She's our executive director, and she does an outstanding job with the ULI programs. In addition, there's, as I mentioned, the entire team that helps out with this event each year. And in particular, Bernadine Dulligan. She and the team, they spend months preparing for this evening and organizing all of the aspects of the event. Bernadine and the team handle the many requests and requirements of such an event with great professional dedication, good humor, and even grace. So for now, please enjoy your dinner, and the program will resume later on. Thank you. I'm hopeful that everyone has had an opportunity to enjoy the dinner this evening and to spend a little time with everyone at your table. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and recommence the program this evening. And the first thing I'd like to do now is to resume the program by playing a video in honor of Sonny Abramson.
He was as good as they come.
A great citizen.
One of the few icons in Washington.
He was a gentleman's gentleman.
And everything he did had a character of quality about it.
He was very driven.
He was not only a visionary, but he was creative.
He could speak to anybody. He could absorb almost anything.
He was a wonderful friend.
He was a true role model.
He was a magnificent person.
I'd say he was a mensch.
He was a remarkable man, and there'll be no one to replace him.
Albert Abramson was classic, just really all the attributes one would like to see in a human being.
My father was larger than life. The way my father got started in real estate is the way he went about any type of real estate project he got into. He took risks.
I think it probably came from the fact that he started with nothing, and he didn't really have anything to lose by trying new things.
Starting after the war, he built houses for returning GIs, and he followed that with apartments and shopping centers and office buildings.
Washington went from a small southern cultural city into a large metropolitan world-class city. And Sonny Abramson, Albert, and his family and his partners were very much a part of it.
He went west on K Street early on.
Sonny's evolution through Tower was leading the marketplace in terms of building quality projects, big projects, Blair Towers.
The whole Tower Oaks project.
When he went out Rockville Pike and bought the land for White Flint Mall.
And he just had perfect timing to be at the right place at the right time.
Because he always believed buildings were in the right location, built well, will always do well.
I think when the real estate community looks at Sonny Abramson and the Tower Company, the word first class comes to mind.
All the development he did with quality.
And he set a new standard in Washington. He made a difference. He changed the landscape.
Any street corner you go down into in Washington, D.C., there is a piece of my grandfather.
He added excitement and dynamism to buildings.
He wanted to do something that would contribute to the beauty of Washington. We constantly worked on the excellence of the buildings. Washington Square is a good example.
Right after Washington Square was open, Gorbachev was in Washington. And when he was returning from the White House, he stops his motorcade at Washington Square, jumps out of the car, and shakes hands with the crowds, unifying the two nations right there at Washington Square.
He enjoyed the creativity of building and designing projects, and he would also try to come up with innovative ideas that other people hadn't come up with.
When we got involved with green building, there was definitely not a trend in that space.
The tower companies, which really is not just a leader in green development, sustainable development, but they really are a pioneer, and there aren't many pioneers.
I think their commitment to environmentally sensitive buildings goes back to Sonny's commitment about the greater good.
My grandfather has always been very philanthropic. I think it was a part of the way that he was raised.
My father always told me that we're lucky to have net worth, but not to mix it up with self-worth, and therefore you had to work hard, be modest, and help people.
Every part about Sonny Abramson was about giving back.
I think Ed, being the citizen he was of the community, I think those are the kind of things that made Sonny special.
And for him to dedicate himself and his life the way he did to the Holocaust Museum was just, was phenomenal.
Sonny was a singular leader of our project. The rest of us were pretty daunted by so many of the challenges, but not Sonny. And he took a lot of courageous steps to make sure that the museum got built.
I mean, this man took something that was almost dead in the water and made it happen.
He said, we have to get this right. And we stopped and we started over and we got it right.
He had a vision, he wanted to get it done, and I think it bears Sonny's imprimatur.
This museum became an incredible thing for him, and it's his dedication. And I really believe if it wasn't for Sonny, there would not be a museum today.
I think everything the museum does, we owe to Sonny.
What started out as just an idea has now become one of the most popular attractions in Washington.
The Holocaust Museum was the capstone of his philanthropic career. He was awarded the Citizens Medal by the President, and that was a special moment in his life and our lives.
I think some of the rare accomplishments my father had that very few people know about. He had a love of community, he had a love of the arts, he had a love of the sciences. He was personally moved to see how he could create happiness.
He was always interested in what you were doing rather than talking about what he was doing.
He would immediately initiate the discussion by saying, what are you doing? Tell me about what's happening with you.
And he made people feel they were part of the project.
Sonny was one of the easiest people to do business with because he was very open and very honest.
He was a wonderful man. I used to always love coming to see him. I was a little bit in awe of him.
His intellect is always the thing that always sticks in my mind because we would sit there and have discussions about everything.
When I was growing up, actually, I used to tell my friends that my grandfather knew the answer to every single question in the world. I'm still convinced, actually, that that is true.
I can't think of any time he wasn't right.
He was a risk taker, but he was not a gambler.
He was, in a manner of speaking, a bit of a competitive person.
Well, they should know that Sonny was a hell of a bridge player.
And I think at one point he was playing with, at one time, I think it was Warren Buffett or somebody else.
Albert Abramson was classic. He was a totally integrated person.
Albert was able to see things in different situations that most people could not recognize.
A lot of people don't have that ability to be both a visionary and good at execution, and he was one of those people that had both of those.
I think what makes the tower companies unique is my father's excitement for real estate, and it's infused in his children, and it continues on.
When we do a development project, it really is an extension of the family.
We're constantly upgrading our buildings, trying to make them better, being reflections of the city, being reflections of my father's highest goals. And those buildings will always represent how he raised the bar in architecture for Washington.
Projects that have stood the test of time will continue to stand the test of time.
My father's greatest legacy is the values he instilled in his children, hard work and modesty.
I think the family he held together is a great tribute to him because his family is a wonderful family, and there's so many of them who are involved in the business.
And all you have to do now is look at the family and see what they have accomplished. They're continuing with his work.
Albert would hate receiving this award. He was very modest, never wanted any publicity.
I think Sonny deserves this award not only for the wonderful buildings he's built throughout the Washington, D.C. area, but for the legacy of gifts he's given to the community as well.
He gave an extraordinary treasure not only to our nation, but the world. And for that, he deserves many honors and a great gratitude from all of us.
And I think that it's particularly meaningful that the ULI recognizes the role that he's played.
Sonny Abramson is what ULI is all about.
I think the tower companies are a shining example of what ULI professes in terms of green building and walkable, livable communities.
And to the credit of my grandfather and my father and everybody else, they really took that very seriously and said, you know, we are stewards of this community and we have a responsibility.
That to me is why I think he really deserves it. He was a human being as well as just being a great real estate entrepreneur.
It's almost impossible to imagine that one lifetime could have accomplished as much as he did.
It was just one incredible man.
I don't think there'll ever be another Sonny Abramson in this city. There'll be other good people, but there'll never be another Sonny Abramson.
His spirit and his projects and his legacy lives on.
He is one of the architects of the landscape. He is a builder, not just of buildings, but of the community of DC. I think that's pretty amazing.
As we review his life and his accomplishments, it's an appropriate time to honor him and show the rest of Washington what they may not have known about him.
I could not think of a greater organization such as the ULI who could represent my father's real estate contribution from shopping malls to national museums. And I thank the ULI for honoring his legacy, for building our community, our nation's capital, and America.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Theodore Lerner, the founder and principal of Lerner Enterprises, who will present the Lifetime Achievement Award to Jeffrey Abramson, the son of Albert Abramson and partner with the tower companies.
Good evening. I thank you for the privilege to pay tribute to my lifelong friend, Albert Abramson. Even though, to be quite honest, earlier in the baseball season, I was considering other plans for this evening. Albert, or Sonny as I always called him, was my friend since childhood. I knew him since I was 8 years old and he was 18. He and Ruth were at our wedding and every big family occasion. Our two families and our business lives were intertwined. Through all these many years, Sonny secured a place in my heart as my trusted partner and dear friend. He was a remarkable man and had the respect of the business community and was loved by all who were lucky enough to have the pleasure to know him. Through the years, we partnered building developments such as Washington Square, White Flint Mall, Tower Oaks, and many others. Albert leaves a great legacy, from the realization of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum to his acceptance of the Citizenship Award from the President of the United States. But if you asked him what is his most enduring legacy, his answer would have been simple and swift: his family. I feel confident that they will continue their father's vision in philanthropic endeavors in our city. I am honored to present on behalf of the Urban Land Institute, Washington District Council, the 2012 Lifetime Achievement Award to Albert Sonny Abramson, founder of the tower companies. I invite his sons Gary, Ronald, and Jeffrey to join me to accept this award.
Thank you, Ted, for honoring your friend and partner, Albert Abramson, and for your lifelong friendship with our dad and our family. And I think, Ted, that everyone here would like to thank you and your family for bringing baseball to Washington. As my father would say, I'm glad you listened to me and bought that team. You know, Dad would not allow us to be here tonight to accept this award. As a modest man, he would say that it was all luck, timing, and the opportunity of being in Washington that made him successful. Well, this time, Dad, you can't turn this honor down. As his children, how lucky we were to have him as our father and Ruth as our dear mother. How his life, vision, integrity, and personal drive molded us throughout the years. His favorite American writer was Philip Roth, who wrote in his Pulitzer Prize book, American Pastoral, a speech in which the lead character gives at his 50th high school reunion. I would like to quote from that. Let's remember the energy. Around us, nothing was lifeless. Sacrifice and constraint were over. The depression had disappeared. Everything was in motion. The lid was off. Americans were to start over again, en masse, everyone in it together. If that wasn't sufficiently inspiring, the miraculous conclusion of this towering event, the clock of history reset, and a whole people's aims limited no longer by the past. There was the neighborhood, the communal determination that we, the children, should escape poverty, ignorance, disease, social injury, and intimidation, escape, above all, insignificance. You must not come to nothing, make something of yourselves. To have lived, and in this country, and in our time, and as who we were, astonishing. Close quote. Don't you wish you had written those words? I had a chance to personally thank Philip Roth for those stirring words a few weeks after my father passed away. I said to him that his words captured not only my father, but captured the collective spirit of his entire generation to succeed. Albert Abramson knew the importance and the responsibility as a builder of our nation's capital, and built here a symbol of freedom, liberty, and tolerance for the world to see. And Dad, you did make a difference. You did make the world a better place, and your work to change the world will continue. We would like to thank all of his friends who participated in the video. Your words are a testament to the man and how he led his life, and to the unique relationship you all had with him. On behalf of my father's sister, Adele Margulies, who is here tonight with us from Israel, Gary and Penny, Ronald and Ann, my wife Rona, and all of the Abramsons and the family at Tower. Thank you, Urban Land Institute, Washington, for bestowing this great tribute to Albert Abramson. And thanks to all of you for being here tonight and celebrating his life. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you, Ronald and Gary, for allowing us to honor your father this evening. It's with a very deep and sincere thanks that I would also like to thank on behalf of ULI Washington, everyone here this evening for your sponsorship and your contributions to ULI Washington and for making this evening a success. Cars parked by valet parking may be picked up at the G Street exit, and I'd like to take the opportunity to wish everyone a safe return and a good evening. Thank you.